Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I'm Rex Nelson, senior editor of the Democrat Gazette, and we welcome back. Although, Michael, I think it's been a couple of years. I'm overdue to have you back, Michael Marion, the fine manager of the Simmons Bank Arena in North Little Rock, and big anniversary this month, 25 years. I know you can especially, but I can remember that like it was yesterday. I was working in the governor's office at the time, as
Right.
you know, and we were all excited about it. Hard to believe it's been 25 years that have gone by.
You're right, Rex. We've had a lot of different things go on, and a lot of stories to tell, and it's just been great. We've been able to, deliver on the promises that the late Buddy Valines, made about, we don't get any money from the taxpayers.
It's a remarkable story. Yeah.
There's no bonds on the building. We've been able to deliver a lot of the events I think that people were expecting from a place like this, and
Yeah.
maybe some they didn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you were in your home state of Mississippi, managing the arena in Tupelo at the time. How did you hear about this new arena being built, and why was this position of interest to you way back then?
Well, when I was before my time in Tupelo, I was running the building. I was an agent out in L.A.
Yep.
for artists like Tina Turner and Whitney Houston and Steve Winwood and others. And my territory was Virginia down to Texas. We always said it was everybody that talked like I did.
Exactly.
So Arkansas was certainly in that group. And I realized that, the facilities here had gotten old.
So you helped bring performers to Barton Coliseum back in the day.
As a matter of fact,
yeah.
I booked the Tina Turner date.
Oh, wow.
That they're doing this, and there's a ticket for it down at the in those photos at the State House Museum.
Yeah.
About Barton. Well, I actually booked that show. I've got my route book still showing where we played Little Rock.
Yeah.
So I realized in talking to people that this market needed a new building. That the Barton was old.
Absolutely.
And so when the opportunity came along and I heard they were building a building, I went, there's a market that's probably going to do really well because there's some pent-up demand for a lot of shows.
Absolutely. I'm of that age, Michael, and people of my age who are native Arkansans, I know you've gotten to know many of them through the years, but I'm of that age that I remember that period there for a short time where a lot of the good concerts were actually going to the Pine Bluff Convention Center.
That's right.
Because Barton had gotten so old and Pine Bluff was new.
Right.
And suddenly that was the place for concerts in this part.
You're right.
State.
I remember shows routing to Tupelo from Pine Bluff.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew this market needed a new building, and when that opportunity came along, I made a phone call and put in my name in the hat, and make a long story short, got selected. And remember my first meeting with Judge Valines was at the Faded Rose.
Really? That was his favorite hangout.
His hangout.
I knew where to find Buddy always.
But I just I loved his approach to this, and Bob Russell was the chairman, and I've always laughed about people saying to Bob, we got a guy for you. He's from Tupelo. But I think that we had great leadership at that time, and we've continued with that.
It is, like I said, it's an amazing story, and we're going to get into it a little bit. As you said, the promise to the voters is, fund this thing temporarily, and then it's going to fund itself from now on. And as you know, you're in the business. That's not the case with a lot of arenas across the country.
No, you're right. Plenty of them have, they can finance their operations, but they can't finance that debt.
Yeah, and they go back to the taxpayers
right.
again and again. Yeah,
they have to, redo their bonds and this kind of thing. And we were real fortunate again that, as we said, the day we opened, it was paid for.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I know that has been gratifying in this job to you, you mentioned Bob Russell, you mentioned Buddy Valines, but the chance to meet so many great business leaders of the state, and I think about the naming rights, and when it was originally Alltel, and the chance to name Joe and Scott Ford, and then of course when they sold to Verizon finished out that contract. But then Simmons, my former employee, the name now with George Macris. But, you talk about the Fords, you talk about George Macris. I mean, we're talking about some of the cream of the crop of the
Oh yeah,
Arkansas business leadership there.
absolutely. We've been very fortunate to have those kind of people step up because you think about Joe Ford. This was betting on the come like nobody's business.
Absolutely, it
He
was.
paid
Yep.
it. He paid those naming rights 2 years in advance.
Yep. Yep.
And we used that money. I remember when he made that commitment that we upgraded our seats from plastic to padded seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just those
Exactly.
kind of things that had a real effect on the way the building turned out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, I know you have had to obviously make changes. They're constant challenges. I know from a physical standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint. But boy, at least to me, and I'm just talking of somebody who shows up for events. So you're down in the bowels of the place, but the work you've done, the building still looks fresh and new to me. It has stood up remarkably well, just from my viewpoint, for a 25-year-old facility.
Well, thank you, and that's something we've really tried to do instead of waiting 25 years and go, oh, we need $10 million to do this and that. We every year we have a file in our computer system called wish list,
Hmm.
and all the staff puts in there. Here's the things we need to do, and so each year we spend some of that money that we made in the profitable years, and thanks to the great the suite holders and some of those kind of and naming rights, those kind of injections of money on a periodic basis really have helped us. We just got through doing our whole landscaping. We've redone
Hmm.
all of it. We're about to replace all our lights, and we've got 400 lights inside the bowl, and we're going to replace them with 70 LEDs. So we're trying to stay up to date. And as I said, over time, we've added things, repaired things. Again, trying not to have some big bill in 25 again at 25 years where we're like, oh gosh, how are we going to pay for this? We tried to do
Hmm.
it incrementally.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when I go back to the start, and we probably did this the last time you were here, but such interesting stories around the start. Like I said, I was in the governor's office, and the original event was going to be an exhibition NBA game featuring the Los Angeles Lakers, and I actually Michael happened to be, because we had gone over there before the game, a group of us in in the lobby of what was then the North Little Rock Hilton, now the Wyndham Hotel, when they told Phil Jackson of the Lakers there wasn't going to be a game. And
Right,
I,
right.
I remember the look on his face. But talk a little bit. We can smile about it now. I know you weren't
Yes.
smiling at the time, but talk about the day when every Arkansan suddenly learned what a raker beam was.
That was just a crazy time. We had planned on the Lakers being a soft opening event and
Right
gave it a
before the
whole new
Elton John
meaning.
concert. Yeah, yeah.
But yes, the quick story is we had an engineering problem, but we got it fixed. That was the beauty of it, and I certainly give our board attorney Tim Grooms credit, where he made sure all the people involved with the construction were under one insurance policy,
Yeah.
so nobody was pointing at each other saying it's your fault. It didn't matter. The insurance covered it. It didn't cost a tax. Yes, we were delayed. I'm not missing that,
Yeah.
but we were
Yeah.
delayed by I think 12 days.
That's
We
about
got
it.
Elton
Right.
John up, and it didn't cost the taxpayers. That delay didn't cost them anything, which is very. Again, I give credit to him for making sure our insurance was such that wouldn't be a problem.
Absolutely. I had tickets for the Elton John concert with my wife, and we were we were on the upper level. I was a little slow in buying the tickets, and we were on the upper level. And my wife said, "Is it safe?" And I told her, and I know you will verify this. I said, with all the media attention of the last 2 weeks, this is the safest building in America, because every engineer you can think of had looked at that and signed off
Amen.
on it. I know.
Amen. I mean, I've said the exact same thing. I said, there's no building that's been reinforced like this one.
Yeah, it was, and then Elton John goes off without a flaw, full house, and it was
Yes.
a wonderful night.
Yeah, it was, and Elton came back, what, 2 years ago,
Yep, yep.
and alluded to being the opening show at our building, so it kind of came full circle.
Yeah, absolutely, it did. Now, as I look back, so many times, and of course now it's even worse. You can imagine if social media had been there 25 years ago, but people get in feeding frenzies for no reason. And I remember before that first show, Michael, everybody was worried about parking. Where are we going to park,
Oh,
everybody? Where are we going to park?
yeah.
And parking's never been a problem. There's plenty of parking in North Little Rock.
No, you're absolutely right, and the beauty of it is, it's not like people say, "Well, why didn't you build a parking deck?" Well, you know how you get stuck in a parking deck,
Yep, for hours after an event. Yeah.
right? In our case, because the parking is spread out all over North Little Rock, you get out of the building pretty quick. I mean,
Mhm.
that's one of the beauties of it. And again, we have not had any. I've never had anybody call me and say, "God, you need more parking."
Exactly. But it was an issue
Always a
before
front
the
page
building. Yeah,
story about
before
what are
the
they going to do
building
about the
opened.
parking.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows how sometimes things can feed on themselves, and they're just not a problem
Right.
when it turns out that way. Let's talk about what you've done over 25 years, and I'm not just blowing smoke at you, Michael. I've written this before and said this before, but you are brilliant at bringing in acts that normally would not be in this size market. And I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I know you're going to say it comes back to relationships, and it goes back to those days as an agent in Los Angeles and the relationships you've built up over the years. And now 25 years of good experiences with artists and the people who surround them that make them want to come back.
No, you're right, and you're right. I mean, I was very blessed to have started at Mississippi State booking concerts. Went to L.A. and got to know. Worked as an agent, as I mentioned, got to know a lot of people, and then got to Tupelo, and once again used those same relationships. But I'd also add that I have to give the staff credit. I mean, when people roll into our building, they know they're going to be treated right. And I always say, you never know what's coming through the front door or the back door.
Mm-hmm.
But when people come in, whether it's our patrons or whether it's, I think about our Google rating is 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll take that. So obviously the patrons are happy, and we try to address any issues that come up. And then the people that come in from back, come in on the trucks, we try to show the best Southern hospitality we can. We just an example, we offer them free Dippin' Dots.
Wow. Wow.
It's just those little
Little
things,
things, yeah.
that make a difference. And based on my experience being out on the road with Tina Turner, I realized that kind of stuff makes a difference, because these people are basically picking up all their belongings and moving from place to place to place. And anything a building can do to make them feel more at home, that's really important. So, and our staff has certainly bought into that, and that's a big part of why we're able to. And of course, the other part is we got to thank the people in Arkansas for showing up.
Absolutely.
They buy tickets.
Absolutely.
That we're known as a good, solid secondary market where people will buy tickets. That we'll sell out George Strait. We'll sell out Harry Styles. And we got Jelly Roll coming up. It's almost sold out. We've got we just had Chris Stapleton, which was sold out. So those kinds of that kind of record makes it that much easier to book the building.
I know this is like asking somebody, who's your favorite child, because you work hard to book all of these events. But looking back over 25 years, 3 or 4 favorite nights at the arena, if you had to pare them down, what would be some of your favorite memories over the past 25 years?
Well, I think about when we did the Rolling Stones. I believe that was in 06 and or 08. But regardless, for the longest time, I wouldn't say Rolling Stones out loud to anybody in the staff meetings. I'd say that band.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't even want to jinx it.
Yeah, don't
But
jinx
getting
it
the
at all.
Rolling Stones was a treat.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of in our file in the computer, it didn't say Paul McCartney. It said Rocky Raccoon. I didn't want to say
funny,
it.
yeah.
I didn't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of silly. But that was in meeting Paul McCartney, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
what do you say to Paul McCartney?
Exactly.
You're a Beatle. you know. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, that was a treat. Again, having George Strait went 5 times. You know, he holds our record for the most people in the
Does he?
building.
George Strait
Yeah,
holds
we
the
because
record.
he does his show in the rounds,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a small stage, and we put 18,004 people in the building.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you know, things like that, you know, really put us on the map. And you know, again, I always like to tell people, you know, we're not making widgets here; we're making memories.
Yeah.
And we
Absolutely.
like to think, you know, each year we have a little over 400,000 people through the building that, you know, hopefully we've made a good memory for help make a good memory for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Let me talk about sports for a minute. I mean, you had teams. UALR called it home for basketball before they built their own wonderful on-campus arena, the Stevens Center. You had arena football in there for a time that, frankly, did quite well when you compared it to other arena league teams. You had minor league hockey in there for a time. You had ABA basketball in there for a time. None of those teams stayed there, but I know in talking to you before, saying not having a full season really opens up dates for your music acts, but still the arena's ready to host big time events as it has annual Razorback basketball game still. With Coach Cal, I predict this year's game will sell out probably the first day
I
that
think you're
tickets
right.
go on sale
Uh
because of
huh.
Calipari. You have that. You've hosted the SEC women's tournament several times. You hosted the men's NCAA March Madness once, and I'm still hoping we get that back, Marion. Michael, I know you have to partner with ULR on that. We've got a new athletic director there. I think he's interested. So you still remain in the sports business, even though you don't have a regular team there.
That's correct. Yeah, and when people ask me about minor league sports, I say we have a professional team in Arkansas. They're called the Razorbacks.
Yeah, exactly. With
And you
NIL.
know, and I always tell people that call about. I said, look, the Friday nights are high school football. Saturday nights could be a home Razorback game. So with that, as you said, now arena football did last 13 years, but the
Wow, I didn't even know that it was that long.
yeah, I
We went
know,
to a lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
wow.
But you know, they had a change of ownership, and it fell off. But that's kind of the cycle of that kind of thing. Now we will find out this month if we're going to. ULR has put in another bid,
Yeah,
so we're
yeah,
going to find out this month that whether we are in the you know opening rounds or regional or whatever. So we'd
yeah.
love to have one of those back. We've you know ULR's bid every time that's been available.
I know, and I have told people, Michael, and you will back me up on this. I love March Madness. I watch it every year, and in most of the arenas you look at, there may be half full for Thursday, Friday day games on that first round. I mean, we sold out every
Oh
session
yeah, we
when it
sold
was
ours
here.
out a year in advance.
Yeah,
And you know, they came back and did the audit, everything was fine with that. The building was okay. You know, we had some hotel issues. But you know, we've improved on that. So yes, we've stepped up every time, and fingers crossed, and you know, we'll find out this month.
yeah. Well, I think this is a great location for March Madness, and hopefully we will get good news on that. Um, let's talk about we've talked about music, we've talked about sports. Let's talk about around the arena what has happened. The arena opened 25 years ago. About 7 years later, Dickey Stevens Park was built as the home of the Arkansas Travelers. And with those two facilities there, we have seen, and if anything, I look at the apartments on the river now and the plans for a new hotel right next to you and all. If anything, it's speeding up, but we've seen tens of millions of dollars invested on that side of the river downtown since you opened 25 years ago.
Oh, you're right. We just had an economic impact study done, and based on the numbers, we've had a $400 million impact since we opened.
Yeah.
And what it's done for North Little Rock. And you remember back then, the only, you know, downtown North Little Rock was a one-way street, and all you did, you just zoomed through it.
Yeah.
And now
And the
it
and the
is,
then pawn shop next to you was about the busiest business down there
that's
and
right.
bus station. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But it's all changed. And I like to think, you know, we're a county building. We want to benefit both sides. And I think we certainly helped out the River Market.
Mm-hmm.
We're helping out downtown Argenta, and again, we like to think we were a catalyst along with the Clinton Library, with along with the stadium, the whole downtown scene. There's so many dynamics of that, and so many interlocking pieces, and I like to think we're a solid piece of that to because when people now can come downtown, they can go to Brood and Barley, or they can
Yep.
go across the
I
river. I
mean,
mean,
really
there's
good
so many
restaurants,
places.
really good
Yes.
after game entertainment, after concert entertainment within walking distance. And then the riverfront itself, which was pretty much empty then. I can remember the late Mayor Pat Hayes driving me up and down that riverfront and go
Oh, you got the Pat Hayes tour?
Oh my gosh, he scared me to death. He would go over these little bridges that I didn't think would hold his pickup truck. You probably been through that up and down that river.
Yes, he was
And
famous for his tour.
oh yeah, and he would point out his vision for what
Oh,
would happen on that riverfront. And if we lost Pat just like we did Buddy not too long ago, but if he were around now, you look at things like the Rockwater, where it's the new urban developments. You almost feel like you're at Seaside or somewhere
yes,
that has
yes.
come up, and the luxury apartments that are going up now. Pat's vision has happened along that
It sure has.
riverfront.
It
Yeah.
sure has, and you're right. He had a vision, and he dreamed, and Buddy did too. And I like to think that we certainly helped in all that.
Yeah, absolutely. You were very much a catalyst for that. So,
And with all all this revitalization and that they're working on the river market, I like
yeah,
to think
yeah, on the Little
we
Rock
can
side,
help out
absolutely.
because that to me is an important part of what we're about is generating business on both sides of the river.
Absolutely, and big plans there by the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau. Now, um, I'm going to ask you what you have, what you see happening maybe in the next 5, 10 years, and please don't tell me you're retiring. You're not allowed to, Michael. You're just one of those invaluable people that we're not going to let retire. I can't afford to retire. So when people say that to me, I say, don't worry. I'm not, even though I've turned 65, I'm not looking at it anytime soon. But what do you see big picture? Where do you see things going the next 5, next 10 years for this arena?
Well, I tell you, Rex, it's been to your point. I'm not planning on retiring.
Good.
I just turned 69, but you know what? I'm still having fun.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
I'm
Yeah.
one of those. I'm not sitting around waiting for the day I retire. So I'm going to keep working for a while. But I think again with the way we financed the building, the name. If you remember, that naming rights money we got from Alltel went to construction.
Mm-hmm.
So for 20 years we didn't have anything for naming rights.
That's right.
And then Simmons stepped up, and that was a certainly interesting process. We had 9 people express interest in naming.
Wow, that tells you a lot about how well you were
Yeah,
doing.
and so that was certainly exciting. So, but obviously they stepped up big. So with that kind of money available to us, again, I already mentioned the landscaping and the lights and a lot of things we do. So I think we're going to be able to continue to have our building, stay up to date. I think in the concert business, people talk about the digital age and all this, but you know what? I think people will always want to be in the same room with their favorite artist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a communal experience. People say, well, you got to wait in line, all this stuff. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
You're there to have a good time. So I think we'll continue to be a player in the secondary market scene and getting shows. Again, we're going to continue to try to get an NCAA in here. We certainly haven't given up on that. So I think that the building itself, at 25 years, we've had, we tried to, again, we've replaced some internal things, with chillers and that kind of thing to keep it
Mm-hmm.
going. So I feel good about, the building being just as viable as in 10 years as it is right now.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it up and trying to keep it fresh. We've done things like add a vibe room where that's an upsell where you can go hang
Right,
out before
right.
the show or during the intermission for an extra charge, or you can go to the Legends Lounge and have dinner. So, we've tried to keep up with the times as far as, what people are wanting and what they're expecting out of their experience.
And we're talking about all that's happened in that surrounding neighborhood, and I see more coming. I think about hotels that you can walk to because I love walking down, after that Razorback game. I usually make reservations far in advance and going to the Wyndham and eating at Frank Fletcher's Riverfront Steakhouse. He has kept that hotel nice. Now plans if they move forward for, I believe it's Tempo, which is a new Hilton brand,
Yeah.
very upscale, that would
Yeah.
be basically right outside your door
That's
there. So
right.
a lot
That's
happening in that area
Yes, it
too.
is. There's a lot of, for a long time, there's a lot of talk about things, but now I
Mhm.
think we're seeing them really come to fruition.
Actually moving, yeah.
Yes,
A-
yes. And what's going on again in Argenta and what CVB's got planned for the river market, I think all of that, is just going to make that area that much more dynamic.
Yeah. How is, you talk about making relationships all those years ago in LA and putting on a good experience, but like all industries, the music business changes. How has that business changed in the 25 years that you've been here?
Well, Rex, and I can go back a little further just to
Uh,
kind of go into it. But if you remember when you and I came along, tickets were real cheap.
Yeah, they were.
And because the artist was touring in order to support their album sales,
Hmm.
that's what they were out there touring because the record company was the one that was paying them all that money. And if you remember in the early 2000s, everybody started stealing music.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
artist was not getting money from the record companies because everybody was stealing music. So they looked around and said, I've got to tour more and I've got to raise my price.
Hmm.
So that's when we started seeing ticket prices going up when those artists and that's kind of calmed down some now in terms of streaming. I mean that they're getting compensated for their labors as far as recording and writing songs. But in 25 years, I certainly see an increase in ticket prices. And if you and I were going to shows, the whole house was one price.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, now
Exactly.
now it's like an airline. You got a ticket for a price for every seat
Hmm.
almost.
Hmm.
So we call it scaling the house, and so the front row is more expensive than the top row, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's certainly been a big development in all this. So I think that, and then it's just the genres of music, and it amazes me. I have a 28-year-old son, and I'll never forget when he was in the 8th grade. He came home and said, "Dad, do we have any Queen?" Well, yeah, Jonah, we do. And in their generation is so into our music.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really translated, which is very interesting because I think about when we did Stevie Nicks this year.
Hmm.
You think, well, that's a classic rock act. It's going to be me and you and people our age. No, no. It was girls down to
Young people. Yeah.
20, 25. There wasn't a piece of black lace left in the state. And every top hat was gone. I mean,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
all dressed like Stevie Nicks. And you're
Yeah.
thinking, this is so great that our music has transcended the next generation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, I didn't want to listen to anything my mom and daddy listened
Oh,
to.
same here. Same here.
We were
Yeah.
listening to that
And
awful rock
I was
music.
going to say I'd have been listening to the Glenn Miller Orchestra if I'd have listened to what my parents listened to. So.
And the other thing, big change is country music.
Hmm.
Country music used to be a small piece of the genre pie.
That's right.
And rock was the big piece.
Yeah.
Well, now country's the big piece. I mean, country's not the country you and I grew up
Exactly.
with.
It used to be small bars and intimate
And Porter Wagner.
places. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And
or I think I always think of one of my favorite movies, The Blues Brothers. Of course, we play two kinds of music, country and western. So you think of a small bar with the chicken wire,
That's
around
it,
the
that's
stage in
it.
those days.
and
Yeah.
now country is basically rock music.
Yeah.
So that's been a big change. Just watching how the genres have changed, and you got somebody like Jelly Roll who's a country rapper, and you're like, how does that work? But again, it's just really that's been another big difference is the way country music has expanded.
And, I hit on music, I hit on sports, but you've also been a good home to all kinds of family entertainment. And we're talking from the Harlem Globetrotters every year to shows on ice to wrestling to monster trucks. You've got a lot of that going on too.
Absolutely, we've been a solid family show market. We do 2 monster truck shows a year.
And they draw well, don't
And
they?
if you want to come to the loudest event we have in the building, come to Monster Trucks because and if you do bring a child, make sure you got some earmuffs or earplugs because when those crank up, we say out in the concourse, the crying corner's over there because
wow.
all these dads are walking out with their
With their kids crying, yeah.
6-year-old crying. So But yes, those are certainly good. This year, Ringling Brothers is back.
Oh, the circus is back,
Now
right?
they don't have animals. That's
Right.
the
Yeah,
big thing.
yeah,
So,
but
I've seen the show.
I'm a sucker for the circus
Well,
now. I'm a
it's
big kid
excellent.
when it comes to that. Good. That
It's
may be
really
there.
good. So yes, we do that. You mentioned Globetrotters. PBR is big this year. Professional
Professional bull riding,
Yeah,
right?
that's a big event for us. So yeah, family show at Disney on Ice is always performed well for us. So yes, all those kind of events. Again, it's really important for us to have a good mix of shows. Whether it's rock music, remember soul music,
Mm-hmm.
R&B, family shows. We try to hit all genres that we can.
Yeah. Wow. What a mix. Family shows, sports, music, 25 years of success, and I don't see any end in sight to it. Michael, thank you as an Arkansan for the great job you do for our state in managing the Simmons Bank Arena in North Little Rock.
Well, thanks so much, Rex. It's great to be here.
Michael Marion, our guest on the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you the next time around.